Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
On behalf of the President of the Republic of South Africa and Commander-in-Chief of the South African National Defence Force, His Excellency President MC Ramaphosa, a hearty word of welcome to the South African National Freedom Day celebration. The functionary is the President of the Republic of South Africa, His Excellency Mr. MC Ramaphosa, the Commander-in-Chief of the South African National Defence Force. We acknowledge the presence of members of the Military Command Council. The following military protocol must be observed. On the arrival of the President of the Republic of South Africa, all spectators are requested to stand and remain standing until completion of the national salute, National Anthem, 21-round gun salute, and salute flight, which will be performed by 1 Lynx and 2 BK-117 helicopters flying the 2 national and South African National Defence Force flags. All military spectators are to salute on the command, national salute, and civilian male spectators are requested to remove their headdress. The air display will be performed by 5 PC-7 Mark II training aircraft from Central Flying School, Air Force Base Langebaan, which will be followed by a band demonstration by the South African Army Band from Pretoria. Thereafter, an air display of 2 Hawk Mark II aircraft from 85 Combat Flying School, Air Force Base Makhanda, and 2 Gripen fighter aircraft from 2 Squadron, Air Force Base Makhanda. On conclusion of the air display, the final compliment will be awarded to the functionary. All spectators are requested to stand, and military spectators are to salute on the command, national salute, and civilian male spectators are requested to remove their headdress. Upon withdrawal of the podium group, all spectators are requested to remain seated until the parade has marched off.
The parade consists of members of the National Ceremonial Guard. The parade commander is Lieutenant Colonel P.J. Ditlhakanyane, and the parade warrant officer is Master Warrant Officer S.R. Vuma. The band on parade is from the South African Army under the direction of Captain N. Nkomo, and the drum major is Private N.E. Raulinga. The 21-round gun salute will be fired by the South African Army Artillery Formation Headquarters Gun Salute Troop under the command of Captain S.L. Minyoku. All spectators are requested to switch off their cellular telephones and refrain from smoking for the duration of the parade. On completion of the parade, invited guests are welcome to enjoy refreshments at their respective venues, which they will be ushered to. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for honoring our invitation. Your attendance is highly appreciated. We trust that you'll enjoy this event with us. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please wait for the arrival of the President of the Republic of South Africa, His Excellency Mr. MC Ramaphosa, the Commander-in-Chief of the South African National Defence Force.
Definitely to our viewers at home, this is now the beginning of the ceremonial part of today's program. As we can see, the president there standing there to be part of the ceremonial part. We also know that there will be an air display as well shortly that will be coming. I think let's just speak to Captain Gauta to tell us maybe in terms of what are we maybe expecting to see with the air display.
Okay, good morning, South Africa. I'm Captain Gauta from the South African Air Force. I'm pilot in the South African Air Force, basically, currently based in Air Force Base Makhanda. So what we just witnessed now is the two choppers from the Air Force, which is the Super Lynx and also the BK-117. And as you can see now, coming up, we've got the Silver Falcons now, which are just coming to welcome the crowd. They'll be performing a short display for us, and then after that, there's going to be another display that's coming up, but you will see it as it comes.
Tell us a bit about the Silver Falcons, specifically for those people at home, as well as maybe some of the people that are flying them.
Okay, the Silver Falcons team, this currently you're witnessing team number 82, and since we're celebrating 25 years of freedom today, you'll be pleased to know that this Silver Falcons team is being led by the first black pilot ever. So this is team number 82. It's comprised of 5 members normally. So now the lead will be Major O.G. Mutlwani, who's also flying with the number 2 and 3, which will be Major Van Deventer, which is Khosan Istilbo, and we also have who's this? We also have Major. Okay, so I'll remember him. But then on number 4, we've got Major Shabangu. That's and then also we've got Major Tangana. So Major Tangana, he also asked us to inform the viewers that he's actually coming from this place, Grahamstown, and he used to play rugby in this specific stadium that we're currently at now.
Well, that's very great, and you can hear a lot of the people are very excited in terms of what they see. Obviously, I mean, it's not every day that one is exposed to being able to see an air display. Tell us in terms of maybe the training that goes into how many hours and how difficult it actually is to be part of something like this.
Okay, the Silver Falcons, basically, they are all of them come from Air Force Base Langavanver. They are instructors in that Air Force Base Langavanver. So to become part of the Silver Falcons team, you have to be an instructor. And that's just part of the jobs that they do. They are the ones who are teaching all the Air Force, all the pilots that come through the Air Force. They go through that place, and they are the members that are basically doing that for us currently. So part of their duties as well is also being a display pilot. So doing all the admin duties and teaching people to fly, they must still also find time to be able to practice what they do now. And currently worldwide, they do hold the highest standard of safety as well, as they don't have, they are the most safest team currently.
And then in terms of looking at what we're celebrating today, National Freedom Day, I think maybe for you and also part of the team, I mean, it's the first time that it's been championed also by a black pilot. What does it mean to be part of the Air Force, knowing that 25 years ago you wouldn't have been able to have that opportunity to represent your country?
Yeah. What it means for me, well, it's a blessing. Basically, yeah, because basically I wasn't here when the struggle was being fought, but then today to be able to look at the aeroplanes and know that, you know what, I also can do what these people are currently doing, it brings joy to my heart. And for all the other South Africans out there, people who are dreaming to become pilots, I'd like to tell them that it is possible, and now anybody can become a pilot. It doesn't matter of your skin color now. So.
And also specifically to you as well, being a fighter pilot, we earlier spoke a bit about the training. Tell us about the training, you know, how intense is it? What is it like for you?
Okay, basically for me, I joined 85 Combat Flying School last year. So currently I've just mastered to become a Hawk pilot. So basically I'm a commander of the Hawk, the jet you will see coming later on today. So basically I'm still in training to become an operational pilot now. So once I become operational, then we can officially say that I'm a fighter pilot.
Great. And then I'm not sure where they're still coming. In terms of the patterns or the routes that they do, is there, like the training, is there any symbolism behind it? Like, how do they go about actually mastering it? I mean, everyone is in a separate airplane.
Yes, basically you've got the leader there, which is Major O.G. Mutlwani. Normally what they do is they have their practices, at least on a weekly basis they should have at least 1 or 2 practices. They have a set kind of routine that they follow, and as you can see now, they're just going to come fly past us nice and fast. That's like we're doing about 500 kilometers per hour at this stage. So, and now their show is almost going to be finished now, but then basically what they normally do is that they practice very hard, passion, precision, pride, that's their motto as well. So for them, they actually do, what they actually do is actually quite nice, and also advertising the Air Force to the public.
Great. And then I know at the end, once the president is done with his speech as well, there'll be another demonstration. Can we speak to that a bit?
The other demonstration, that's actually coming immediately now after this one as well. That's basically going to be the fighter jets. All of them come from Makhanda, most of them my colleagues. you're basically going to be seeing 4 jets. There's going to be 2 Gripens and 2 Hawks. The Gripens will be the one in the front is flown by Colonel. His call sign is Midnight, and then behind with Colonel Wilson at the back of him, that's a Gripen D. Takes 2 people. Then behind him is going to be Major Shinobi, which is that's his call sign, Shinobi. So he'll be flying in the rear, which is the Gripen C, single-seater. And then on the left and right, you're going to have the Hawks, the current aircraft that I'm currently flying. So there you have Major Janssen and Major Fenter. And then on the other side, you're going to have Major Mfeka, which is the first female black to actually be flying this aircraft. And also he'll be flying with Major Nzuta.
That's great. Are they separating now, or is this still part of the air display?
This is called the fan break. So basically this concludes their show, and then from here they'll be routing back to where they are currently deployed in Port Elizabeth. So it should take them about 30 minutes to get there.
Being part of the Air Force or any military wing must take a lot of discipline as well, knowing that you are representing your country.
Oh yes, discipline comes first actually. Without discipline you'll never make it in this one especially. And especially with flying, you need a lot of discipline, because else if you can't be disciplined, then you'll be a danger to yourself and also the danger to everybody else around you.
And now that the Silver Falcons are done, what are we maybe expecting to see?
Now we're going to be expecting to see the Gripens, the fly past of the Gripens and the Hawks now.
Is it similar also to the Silver Falcons, or is it a bit different?
No, this one is just going to be, they're just going to fly past initially, and then also coming back for the second time, then they're going to do what is called also a fan break as well. So they'll also separate like what happened with the Silver Falcons now.
Thank you so much, Captain. Well, there we have it. We are now waiting for another display as well, but this session has come to an end with the Silver Falcons, but obviously the band now is also taking part in terms of the ceremonial process that is happening.
Ladies and gentlemen, approaching now from East.
No. He wants to
Thabo, he doesn't want to.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, what you've just witnessed now is the 2 Gripens and the 2 Hawks that just passed overhead. The formation is led by Colonel Bokoto, Midnight with Colonel Wilson. And behind him is Major Shinobi. On the left and right, we've got Major Mfeka flying with Major Nzuta, and Major Janssen flying with Major Fenton. So these aircrafts are the ones that are protecting the South African skies. As you can see them, they are going to come back again, so you can feel the roaring thunder of a fighter jet coming overhead us. So currently they're going to be coming at about a speed of 420 knots. That's like equivalent to 800 kilometers per hour. So, ladies and gentlemen, we should be proud of our Air Force pilots that are actually protecting our skies. And yeah, I can't wait to see this fly past that's going to come back again now. So, thank you.
Well, those are the Gripens that just flew over now, and we do know that they might be coming back just now, which is part of the air display as well, which inside the tent as well, there's quite a number of people that have come out here to celebrate National Freedom Day. We do know that a number of the people here are expecting the president to speak to some of the issues that they face. Some of them actually want to address these issues with the president themselves, telling him in terms of the situations that they are living in within their communities. Obviously, this is the ceremonial part of today's program. They are expecting about 15,000 people to come through here at Makhanda at the stadium where we are at. We do know that it's also part of the township. You'll remember that this is a city where a lot of people have been crying out for national government to actually intervene in some of the issues that they are facing. We do know, though, that COCTA Minister Zweli Mkhize was also here last year, and he was here yesterday, in terms of oversight visit to ensure that things are improving in this city. And those are some of the things, that affect the freedom of people saying that, not being able to have access to cleanly water that you can actually drink, not being able to have proper access to service delivery, a huge backlog here in this city. Those are some of the things which they are saying, those are the things that actually affect your freedom. They start affecting in your belief of what freedom actually is. So in terms of what people are expecting the president to touch on or to actually mention, those are some of the issues that highlight in terms of the people that are back at home. We also know that here in the city of Makhanda, there's an issue of employment. A lot of people at home. We spoke to one of the community leaders. He alluded to the fact that there's about 70% unemployment rate here. But yesterday, also when we spoke to the minister, Dr. Zweli Mkhize, he said what's very interesting about this city is that it is very small, a very small city indeed, but there's a huge private sector that's very involved in terms of trying to turn around the municipality, about 44 companies that are working with the municipality to try and fast track, in terms of service delivery, water issues, the potholes that we saw on our way here as well. So I guess in terms of celebrating a Freedom Day, you also look at how private sector is also, linking up to the municipality or therefore government in terms of trying to help the people around in their communities. And I also think, very important, looking at the celebrations that we have today, which are running concurrently there with the celebrations of the lives lost 200 years ago, people that were fighting for land, which is a very topical issue for South Africa now as well. And I guess a lot of the people here are waiting to hear the president talk to those issues of land and, safety in terms of having your own home and your own land, a space of your own. Let's also bring in Lerato, who's been doing a lot of coverage in terms of the organizations, Lerato, that have been helping out in this area. I know they came in around February, but I mean, this has been very close to you in terms of the work that you've done with the community here and the issues of water and sewer pipes that are bursting in these areas.
Yeah, I think it started in January, where we got a call from the community, especially in the eastern side, which we can
Sorry, Lerato. That's definitely still part of the air displays, Lerato, and I see Minister Nxesi has also arrived. I guess we're expecting to see a number of ministers that will also come through. But tell us about the people that have come through also to this area, mentioning what you're saying now, but the community outcries.
Yeah, just actually to the back of you, there's a community here holding a sign saying, please give us freedom of water. Like you said earlier on, the main issue in Makhanda is the issue of water. There is the eastern side and the western side of Makhanda, and for a long time, the western side has had enough water because of a water treatment plant called the James Kleinhans Dam, which was feeding the east and the west. But then the western side had a dam called the Settlers Dam, which then decreased in water supply, which means that the one water supply area, which was the James Kleinhans water treatment, had to supply the entire city. But the Premier Muswalo was here 2 weeks ago. They funded 22 million rand, and that has increased the water supply now to 13 megalitres a day. So more water coming to the city. But then if you go to speak to the people, they say even though the Premier was here, even though Mr. Mkhize was here as well, there still is a water crisis here. And like you said earlier on, it links mainly to aging infrastructure. And I was speaking to the Premier earlier on and asking him, are they going to deal with the fundamental issues? Something else to plough money, but are they going to fix the pipes? Are they going to increase the capacity of the James Kleinhans Dam? Because when they do that, there'll be more supply of water into the city.
And then Lerato, also looking, we know that Gift of the Givers is also around in this area trying to give water to the people. They've drilled a number of boreholes. But as a sense, speaking to the people, do you know if they are educated in terms of when the water from the boreholes will be actually be able to access the people? In terms of, we know that water from borehole systems needs to go through a treatment plant. All right, let's listen to the National Anthem.
Ladies and gentlemen, you may be seated, and please remain seated for the withdrawal of the podium group and until the guard of honor is marched off.
All right, Lorato, as we can see, the president is going to make his way in now for the formal program. We do know that the MC is going to be Minister Natim Teto, but I also see on the other side of the road there's people with a board. Can you maybe see what it is?
Yes, I actually walked by there a few minutes on. It says residents of the Makhanda asking for freedom of water. I think we cannot ignore, even though there are celebrations, but we cannot ignore that Freedom Day is about the people. It's about have they achieved freedom, the people on the ground, besides the dignitaries, besides the sort of ceremony part. But the people, as you can see just outside the gate, saying that they want to speak to the president themselves. They want to tell him, like you're saying earlier on, what are the core issues facing the city, and perhaps they are hoping he's going to address those in his speech, but also hoping that he's going to address them, because we've had a premier come here, we have Cocta coming here as well, but people are saying that even those two provincial heads haven't been able to deal with the issues facing Makhanda, especially in terms of water. I was actually speaking to the owner of the B&B where we slept earlier on, which is actually the center of the town, where you think that things are a bit better, and he was saying that the water is so bad that he can't even brush his teeth with it. So even if he drinks the water in the CBD, which is the economic hub of the city, he still struggles with the water there, because if he drinks it, his stomach gets upset. So it's not an eastern thing where the township is, but it's also western in the CBD. You were saying earlier on also that there are potholes in the CBD, which is the economic hub of the city. So lots of issues of concerns in the city.
Lorato, this is a city where you can walk to everywhere. I mean, we spoke to one of the community leaders who was saying, you know, if you walk 100 meters to the left, you are in the most poverty-stricken area of Makhanda, and if you walk towards, I think it's the right, then you know you're in a completely different area. This is a city that has the likes of Rhodes University, a lot of private sector. The organizations are interlinked. What do you think, how did it maybe go wrong? I mean, from the stories that you've done in this area, obviously from the people that you've spoken to, is it maybe from a journalist perspective, is it lack of administration? I know in the past 5 years there's been about 10 MMs, 6 CFOs. There's a new mayor now, but people are still calling for council to be dissolved. Can we maybe speak to some of those issues in terms of why would they want council to be dissolved when they've changed a mayor? Is there any progress?
I think last year a protest started, which was actually quite interesting, because it wasn't only an issue of just the eastern side, which is the black townships protesting, but we saw blacks and white coming together, saying that the government must put this administration, dissolve it and start it afresh. We spoke to B&B owners, like you're saying earlier on, which are the economic hub of the city. We know that the Gramson Arts Festival coming up in 2 months' time, and they were saying that, you know what, the core issue here is that people in leadership are not being held accountable. That even though a new mayor comes, he comes with new problems as well, because the past problems have not been dealt with. So like I was saying earlier on, and like you were alluding as well, that we can speak into issues of money being invested, but if the core issue of accountability, good governance, getting people compatible leaders that have the skills to be able to meet the requirements, people that have infrastructure background, that have the skills to deal with the pipe issues, that's why people are saying, if you speak to most B&B owners, there was a B&B we went to and was speaking the economic side of the water shortage. The B&B owner just said to me, Lorato, the issue here is leadership. If they can just get us good, proper leaders that have the skills, someone that has a background in water and sanitation, someone that has a background in leadership and governance, then things will turn around. So fundamentally, people are crying out that the government comes and deal with the leaders here in the city.
Speaking about the leaders and in terms of oversight as well, we do know that recently one of the main managers, specifically I think the manager that actually deals with water and sanitation, has also been suspended. So I guess maybe the pace in which government is going for this municipality is a bit slow for the community members on the ground, whom have been suffering from about 2013, when actually previous Minister Pravin Gordhan had actually decided to put this municipality under administration. But I guess maybe they are trying to intervene, but that intervention is not fast enough to, satisfy the people. But Lerato, you know what? I think we'll speak more to the elements of the financial situations, the debt, the backlog, the electricity a bit later. Let's go inside now and see what's happening in the tent.
Ndinikezele kuMinister Mthethwa ukuba aqalise le program.
I also, Lerato, want us to speak, to the elements of protest in this area. Although they've had protests for several years dating back, they've never actually, gone on to vandalize what they have, etc. So this is a community that's actually trying to highlight their cries. I mean, although we see a municipality that is trying, from the ground, are there any, issues of health? I mean, this water is terrible. Me and you can maybe afford bottled water, but people in the people that we're talking about now, the democracy that we're talking about now, how are people's lives being affected by having no water for 8 days, sewer pipes bursting, not being able to maybe flush the toilet, and the water that they're drinking?
There's an area here in Makhanda called Section 10. It's predominantly a coloured area, and someone was saying that they can't even drink the water because it's so unhealthy. But we'll talk about that later on. Let's now go inside and see what's going on.
Sinokumkani uDalindyebo umzukulwana kaJonguhlanga uJonguhlanga kaJongilizwe umzukulwana kaNdyebo itholele inkunzi zikangangelizwe kaMthokaka zimzonda intshaba zingena umenza nto kuba wambetha ufele lwengcuka azanelizwe ikhona indlu yakokwabo ekunene ukumkani uMathanzima umfo wekumkani engumzukulwana kaRhaqothi indemlomo ugoso ingcuncu esela kumanzi omlambo incibani into yathi yawufika phantsi kweziziba zikaqeleke qushe lekwekwe yambatha ufele lukagqoloma yathi yawugoduka yafika eQamata yadala iwonga kubathembi adala imvula alapha amampondo eqawuka likaMqikela silapha isizukulwana sikaFaku uFaku kaNgqungqushe uthahla kandayeni athi amanzi ekho ahlambe ngeyeza umzukulwana kaNqwiliso Tyelovu amampondo kakuthiwa Zanozu ilapha ikumkanikazi yesisizwe sakulonsinga kaNomagwayi wasembuzamazama ilizwe lizamazama usibala mdabusa mbatha zinkutshane kanti somlingana kube zimpuluthi zimsitha amadolo hamba mkasheke umtsolo lento ubukumkani kwakulozana esizwe imbishi yenqishinqishi yakulombethe nakulombombo wabhukubhukule kukubheke ebholo nasebhele uncithe mdaka yingonyama isilwe esikumkana kumahlathi kahoho umdaka omkhuthuka indlovu eyakohoho nguhala hoyi umzukulwana kavelile umzukulwana kagonya kafaka undibuzela amathongo ndiwaxele umzukulwana kalakhanda kamlawu ikhala ngelimaphiko mdaka irhamnqole edlumzeli ukhanyela umzukulwana karharhabe katshiwo kangconde katwagu kancwangu kasikhombo katshawe kankosi yamntu kabalangana kakhosa kamnguni kantu intombi ezalwa kakuhle mfondini kulobhejane ephuma esiqiwini kade bekuvalele kabheka uzulu isizukuzuku salembele kamanye amalembe ngowukhalipha inkomo zikajama zikandaba zikamageba anoloyiso anoloyiso anoloyiso
Masibulele kuchawe Prince Ncamashe. Ngoku sizawucela uPremier enze i-opening and welcoming remarks njengePremier ephondo. Over to you, Premier.
Amandla ngawethu ilizwe lelethu inkululeko yeyethu. Ndiyabulela kakhulu kumhlokomisi wenkqubo bebambisene umphathiswa kwisebe eli lethu kwiphondo kwakunye nomphathiswa kuzwelonke. Mandinike imbeko. Ndiyabulela mzukulwana kaNcamashe undenzele lula ukunika imbeko kwiikumkani zethu. Sasesiboleka kobo buchule bakho ukubulisa ikumkani kwakunye nazo zonke inkosi zezwe lakowethu ezikhoyo kulo msitho. Ndanduleke ukuba ndiqaphele indwendwe zethu esinovuyo kakhulu. We are truly honored and grateful to receive you in this our province, the home of legends, apha kwesi sixeko, the city of Makhanda. Mongameli welizwe, President of our Republic, the ministers that accompany you here, and deputy ministers, our leaders, inkokheli zethu, ulawulo loburhulumente bethu, all the MECs, the ministers, the members of parliament, including the leadership of our armed forces in the army as well as the police, wonke umntu olapha mawethu. Ndima ngegunya labantu bephondo eli lethu to extend a very warm welcome to you on this historic occasion. Le mini yanamhlanje 25 years ago kwakungenje. Today we celebrate the achievements that our democracy has been able to record since those difficult days. We salute you, Mr. President, and your government for having chosen to come and host this event, this historic event in this beautiful province of ours. It coincides with yet another historic event because in this part of our country, wars of resistance had been fought here. 9 wars over a period of 100 years were fought in this part of our country. And within that, heroes and heroines of our people laid their lives for the freedom we enjoy today. Omnye wabo, Makhanda Kanxele, in whose name this area is since been called. We welcome you all, and we hope that this day shall be memorable as our armed forces, Mr. President, thank you again, have actually done so to remind us that this freedom indeed was fought for, and this freedom has to be defended. We are here as the people of this province ready to defend the freedom we have, and I can assure you the thousands and thousands of people of this province will again on the 8th of the coming month in their droves go and ensure that this growing democracy is grown even further, and that the gains that have already been achieved are not reversed, but we build on them going forward. As I conclude, Mr. President, ufika kambe esinyembezana apa isithwa kumbe esisihleleyo, the recent rains which we have been looking for, but they have come and brought us some damage in many parts of our province, for which we are very encouraged, Mr. President, of the commitment you have already shown to say when our people are visited by disasters, our government is not far from listening to them and responding to their cries. We are looking forward to engaging you further insofar as we have been affected as this province. Sitike kuye wonke umuntu olapha namkelekile lonwabeleni olusuku yinkululeko leye yethu enkosi kakhulu.
Masiphinde simkhwabele uPremier bethu. Honorable President, kukhona ilizwi pha eBhayibhelini elithi beka uyihlo nonyoko. No, there's a veteran that came here. Oti, he has lost his flag. Ngoku ndonqena ke into ba ithi ke i-veteran ilahlekelwe yi-flag. Ndingayitsho loo nto. Ndifuna iphakame kule ndawo ikuye. Andimboni ngokutata. Nansi tata isiza. Uphi utata? Yi-flag yalo mbutho ulawulayo, President. Iphi veteran ngoku nkosi yam? Siyabulela tata, inkosi. Ngoku we are going to invite the minister Nathi Mthethwa to do some remarks and invite the president.
Alala Eastern Cape, alala. Alala Eastern Cape, alala. Alala Makhanda, alala. Alala Nxele, alala. Alala South Africa, alala. Happy Freedom Day, happy. Thank you very much, Program Director, our MEC. Let me acknowledge the President of the Republic of South Africa, President Ramaphosa, ikumkani zethu eziphakathi kwethu namhlanje, the Premier of the province, Premier Masualle, ministers and deputy ministers here present, members of the diplomatic corps, the executive mayor of the district, members of the executive council, distinguished guests, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, fellow South Africans. Today, I have been assigned an easy task the task to introduce the president of the democratic country, which became democratic 25 years ago. Today we have gathered here to mark the achievement primarily by ordinary people, because our freedom came about as a result of their sacrifice. The road to democracy in South Africa was marked by centuries of racial and economic subjugation, discrimination, and oppression, with many ordinary South Africans, especially young people, making the ultimate sacrifice in the quest for freedom and democracy. Today, South Africa is a thriving and growing constitutional democracy as a result of countless sacrifices made. 2019 Freedom Day will be celebrated under the theme celebrating 25 years of democracy. The National Freedom Day marks 25 years of freedom from apartheid, colonial oppression, and an introduction of constitutional democracy in our land. This is the decisive break from the past almost 400 years that was characterized by colonialism and apartheid. This 25th anniversary of our freedom coincides with 4 other important landmarks in the revolution of our society. Firstly, this marks 200 years or 200th anniversary of the Battle of Ekhazini against the British Army led by Colonel Graham, which the colonialists named the town after. That is why it is important to remind each other that as the democratic government, we have a duty to transform the heritage landscape. One of the things we are not going to tolerate as we move forward is to have in our public spaces names which are offensive to our people. Colonel Graham is one such person, the most vicious, the most brutal murderer who maimed women, children in this part of the country. We can't have him as a symbol because it doesn't represent what we are building here. Secondly, it is important to highlight the role of Chief Ndlambe in this area, who nodded when his advisor and the warrior Makhanda explained to him that it is time to take up arms and resist colonizers. We pay tribute to Chief Ndlambe, who also sacrificed with his own sons. Dushana is one of them, and many others. He sacrificed with them so that it defends the dignity of the people in this part of the country. Secondly, this year marks the 140th anniversary of that epic battle of Isandlwana, where Amabutho kaZulu defeated the mighty British Army. Thirdly, this year marks the 50th anniversary of the landmark conference of the governing party in Tanzania, Morogoro, in 1969. Fourthly, the UNESCO, an entity of the United Nations organization, declared this year as the year of indigenous language. Over the last 15 years, our government has been consistently funding studies for indigenous languages through bursary schemes. And in this part of the country, we have a museum. Part of the reason why other languages developed, it's because resources were put there to develop them, including museums. We have a museum here which is called National English Literary Museum in a province where more than 80% of the people speak isiXhosa. We decided that cannot continue. We've changed that museum. It's going to be a museum predominantly for isiXhosa as well. And we've changed the name. We've also changed the name. It's now Amazwi, South African Museum of Literature. As we said, our freedom was not free. We should guard preciously our freedom. We should not take for granted where we are today. More than anything, the dignity of our people, the dignity of this country. This country is no longer a skunk of the world. It is a respected democratic country like many other democracies. With those few words, I will be doing what I'm asked to do here, to look on my left and look somewhere where the President of the Republic of South Africa is sitting. I'm trying to check the President if he's ready to come to the fore. I can't see very well, but...
Amandla. Amandla. Phambili ngenkululeko yethu phambili. Siyabonga.
Ayo! Uyaphakama umongameli welilizwe madoda. Ezokahlela. Ezonika ixabiso. Ezonika imbeko kwilizwe. Kuyekela umongameli welilizwe. Umatemela kaRamaphosa. Umatemela uzalelwe Soweto. Uzalwa ngutata Samuel nomama weduthi. Baphuma kwaRamaphosa. Umongameli nasi isizwe sakho. Sisile sizokumamela. Banika umhlahlandlela. Ubanika umkhombandlela. Siyavuma sikokele mongameli. Siyavuma sikokele matemela. Sikokelele kweli lizwe. Makubekho uxolo kweli lizwe. Makubekho imbeko kweli lizwe. Makubekho umanyano kweli lizwe. Siyavuma matemela, siyavuma. Long live to the spirit of Makhanda, long live. Long live the spirit of our temple, long live. Long live the spirit of Mama Sisulu, long live. Long live the spirit of Mama Winnie Madikizela, long live. Long live the spirit of Tata Mandela, long live. Amandla. Amandla. Tebulela mongameli, tekindilili. Teham. Yo.
Thank you. Yabulela Amandla. Molweni. Dumelang. Sanbonani. Abisheni. Limachiruni. Aw. Nuwaphetha malimi wethu ndiyabulela. Thank you very much. Siyabulela. I'm very pleased to be here. Minister of Arts and Culture, Minister Nathi Mthethwa, ministers and deputy ministers, the Premier of our province, Mr. Pumulo Mnaswale, Executive Mayor of Sarah Bartman District Municipality, Umamu Kekana, MECs and members of the provincial legislature, members of our parliament, your majesties, our kings and queens and traditional leaders, representatives of various political formations, the chiefs of our defense force, generals, admirals, officers, warrant officers, and non-commissioned officers, as well as military veterans, your excellencies, ambassadors and high commissioners, civil society representatives and members of the media, and fellow South Africans. This is a most momentous and significant day in the life and the history of our country. We are gathered here to celebrate the day we won our freedom. As we celebrate our freedom, I would like us to remember those who have died in the recent floods here in the Eastern Cape and KwaZulu-Natal. Our thoughts are also with those who have perished in our sister countries, in Mozambique, in Malawi, as well as Zimbabwe. I would like us to rise and observe a moment of silence to show our respect for those who have departed as we celebrate this most important day. Let us observe a moment of silence. Nalabo abathethayo ngalemva sithi masibonise inhlonipho kulabo abasishileyo. Sizawuthula sonke sithi cwaka. Kungavakali nelizwi lomuntu oyedwa. Sibonise inhlonipho. Thank you. We may be seated. We are gathered here in the Eastern Cape, in the land of legends and heroes and heroines of our country, to recall the battles that were fought, the setbacks that were suffered, and the great victories that were also achieved along our march to freedom and democracy. It was here, on this soil, that the so-called frontier wars with European settlers were fought in the 19th century by our people who were determined to remain independent and free in the land of their birth and the land of their forebears. It was here 200 years ago that a mighty rebellion against the British occupation took place here in the Battle of Grahamstown. In memory of the gallant contributions made by the heroes and legends of our nation, I wish to pay tribute to our ancestors who once lived in this land, whose unconquerable spirits still dwell amongst us. Had it not been for their courage, their steadfastness, and their acts of valor, we would not be the free people that we are today. We have inherited this freedom from Chief Ndlambe and Ikawe Makhanda Kanglele, the warrior, the Sangoma, and the prophet who led the attack on the British garrison at Ekazini in the Battle of Grahamstown. We have inherited this freedom from Ikawe Umangaliso Robert Sobukwe, a son of this province, who founded the Pan-Africanist Congress to push for self-determination for the country's majority based on the principle of African nationalism. We have also inherited this freedom that we are celebrating today from Ikawekazi Usara Bartman, who lies buried in the town of Henki, not far from here. Sarah Bartman was a daughter of this land, taken to Europe and humiliated to satisfy the fancy and the curiosity as well as the cruelty of others. We have also inherited this freedom from Ikawe Ubantu Steve Biko, the young activist from King Williamstown, whose ideas on black consciousness continue to influence generations long after his passing. We have also inherited this freedom from the struggles and sacrifices that were made by legends like uNomzamo uWinnie Madikizela Mandela, from umama uAlbertina Sisulu, from the legendary icon uOliver Reginald Tambo, from the humble Walter Sisulu, from the courageous Chris Hani, from the founder of the women's organization ANC Women's League, uMama Charlotte Maxeke, and from all the heroes of the Eastern Cape and beyond, who spared neither effort nor strength to achieve our freedom. We've inherited this freedom from Utatu Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela, who led our people to democracy and became our first democratically elected president. It is their legacy that inspired many of our people to continue the struggle to attain the freedom that we are celebrating today. We pay tribute to the determined students here in Makhanda who led a movement to open our universities to all South Africans, especially the poor. It was here also that student-led protests against the scourge of gender-based violence on our campuses and in our communities. We salute all those heroes and heroines who have departed this life and those who are still amongst us. For without them, this day that we are celebrating, our Freedom Day, would not have been possible. On this day, 25 years ago, we founded a new country as South Africans, a country that is defined by the principles of equality, unity, non-racialism, and non-sexism. Despite the passage of time, it is a day that we remember vividly. Each one of us has imprinted in their memory what they were doing on the 27th when we won our freedom. The exhilaration of seeing nearly 20 million South Africans of all races waiting patiently at polling stations around the country to cast their votes will remain for us forever. For those of a certain age, we remember the moment we placed a cross on a ballot paper for the first time in our lives. I remember personally voting at Kloof Gold Mine in Western area amongst the mine workers who built the country's wealth but had never before been accorded the most basic right of citizenship, that is the right to vote. On this Freedom Day, as we celebrate this great human achievement, we must reflect on how far we have traveled over the past quarter of a century. We must reflect on the progress we have made in setting right the wrongs of the past, in bringing development to the communities across our country where there was once only neglect, in restoring human dignity where there was only contempt towards our people. Under colonial and apartheid rule, black South Africans were reduced to servitude in the land of their birth and in the land of their ancestors. They had, as the African claims reminds us, no freedom of movement, no freedom of choice of employment, no right of choice of residence, and with a few exceptions, no right to purchase land anywhere from anyone. By contrast, white South Africans reaped the benefits of full citizenship, enjoying educational opportunities, health care, basic services, and sheltered employment through job reservation. Having access to land, property, and other assets enabled them to accumulate the material means to sustain themselves and enable them and their children to lead quality lives in our country. Denied decent education, prevented from seeking employment in all but a few occupations, squeezed into overcrowded townships and Bantustans, their every movement controlled and their communities terrorized, their health stunted by disease and malnutrition, black South Africans were destined for a life of misery. The great tragedy of apartheid was that it placed with great deliberation South Africans of different races on opposite ends of the scale of human endeavor and development. More than that, the great tragedy of apartheid was the deep divisions it sowed amongst us. We came to regard those from a different region, from a different race, from a different religion, social background, and tribe with fear, with mistrust, as well as with suspicion. Segregation was brutally enforced across the hills and the valleys, in the cities and the towns, in the parks and the beaches, and in the factories and offices and buses and trains in our own country. Relationships between men and women across the color line were forbidden by law. Black children were denied the opportunity to learn and to play alongside each other. Such was the brutality of our history that many wondered if we would ever heal the scars of the past. In his poem, Sea and Sand, Don Matera offered the following prayer: bless the children of South Africa, the white children and the black children, but more the black children who lost the sea and the sand, that they may not lose love for the white children whose fathers raped the land. Close quote. On this Freedom Day, fellow South Africans, we have much to celebrate. Most prominent among our achievements has been the promotion of our nationhood in a united, non-racial, and non-sexist democratic South Africa. Our new nationhood manifests itself in many ways. Today, the children of our land, black and white, can learn in the same schools and study in the same universities and colleges. When democracy came, we did not sink into the abyss of vengeance and retribution. This place on which we stand was once the site of battle between an occupying power and, yes, a defiant people. Today it is a place where their descendants, both black and white, walk free from tyranny. Where this country's majority once lived lives of subjugation, today all South Africans enjoy equal rights before the law. Our Constitution is the main pillar of our democracy. It is the safeguard of our independence and the expression of our commitment to human rights. And today, as we celebrate our freedom, we are essentially also celebrating our Constitution, the Constitution that has given us all the rights and the freedoms that we are enjoying today. It is the work of the struggles of the masses of our people, and this Constitution embodies the aspirations of millions of South Africans who had a role in writing our Constitution. This is what we should all remember, that this Constitution, which we are celebrating also today, is a Constitution that we all participated in writing. The Constitution is an enduring symbol of our commitment, yes, to heal the rifts that once divided us and to put aside the bitterness of the past to build a common future, a future that calls on all of us to build one nation. Despite the progress we have made, we are, to be honest, still confronted by sinister attempts to undermine the unity of our nation through acts of racism, through attacks on foreign nationals, and in the open display of the old South African flag. Out of respect for our Constitution and in defiance of our freedom, we reject racism, we reject the pledging of allegiance to a racist past and its symbols, including the old South African flag. We reject it in totality without any reservation. We also reject attacks on those who have come to seek refuge in our country, and we reject violence, we reject insurrection, and the disregard of the rule of law. We embrace people who have come to our country to seek refuge. We embrace them from all over the world. We embrace them from our sister countries in Africa, and we say to them, South Africa, yes, belongs to all who live in this country. The sacrifices of our forebears were far too great, were far too severe, and the price that was paid for our freedom was very high. For us to see the hard-won gains being diminished by acts of intolerance, by acts of racism, and by acts of rejecting other people who have come to seek refuge in our country. Although we have achieved much in the past 25 years, we still have a long journey to travel. Just as Madiba said, after climbing one hill and summiting on one hill, and after we have looked at the vista and the beauty that surrounds that hill, we soon realize that there are many more hills to be climbed because our journey is not yet done. Our nation can only be truly united when we have been able to climb many more hills that lie in front of us. Our journey can only be truly completed when all South Africans have a share and also experience a life of comfort, a life of security, and a better life. Ours is still a deeply unequal country. There are great divisions between rich and poor, between urban and rural, between men and women, between those with jobs and those who are unemployed. There are still divisions between those who own land and those who have been deprived of it. In the past 25 years, considerable progress has been made in improving the material conditions of our people. Yes, South Africa has changed from the South Africa that we inherited 25 years ago. Many things have changed in our country. The lives of our people have in the main been improved, but we all admit that we still have to better the lives of many of our people, so our work is not yet done. There is still a lot of work that still needs to be done. But we are of the firm belief that working together, we can address the challenges that lie ahead. Because as we have worked together, we have built housing for millions of South Africans. We have provided water, sanitation and electricity to poor households across the country. Where there were no adequate housing, we have provided that. Where there was no water, we have provided that. But we are the first to admit that much more still needs to be done. From the dark days of Bantu education, we have dramatically expanded access to education. From early childhood development through to school and to university college, there has been great development. More than 9 million learners attend no-fee schools, with an equal amount provided with a meal at school every day. 7 in 10 South Africans make use of the country's network of primary health care, clinic and hospital facilities, either entirely for free or for a minimal fee. More than 17 million social grants are paid to poor and vulnerable South Africans each month. Through our public employment programs, we have provided a basic income and work experience and training opportunities for many of the unemployed people in our country. Over the last 25 years, the economy of our country has doubled in size, and the number of people in employment has increased from 8 million to 16.5 million South Africans who now work. But yet, in spite of all this remarkable achievements, too many of our people still live in poverty, too many are still unemployed, too many are still homeless in our country, and too many do not have the basic necessities of life. As we celebrate 25 years of democracy, we need to focus our attention and efforts on ensuring that all South Africans can equally experience the economic and social benefits of this freedom that we are celebrating today. We want South Africans to be able to have a sense that they are participating in the economic benefits of the freedom that we all achieved 25 years ago. We cannot be a nation of free people when so many people still live in poverty. We cannot be a free nation when so many people in our country still live without enough food, without proper shelter, without access to quality health care, without a means to earn a living. We cannot be a nation of free people when the residents of places like Makhanda have to go for so long without a reliable supply of clean water. We cannot be a nation of free people when funds that are meant for the poor are wasted, when funds are lost, when funds meant for the poor are stolen. We cannot regard ourselves as a nation that is free when there is still corruption within our own country. And so we enter the next 25 years of freedom. As we enter these next 25 years, we must renew our determination to realize a South Africa that still has the promise that we all saw in 1994, the promise that Utata Nelson Mandela had in his heart when he became the first democratically elected president of our country. We enter a new phase in the life of our nation, determined to build an economy that will serve all the people of our country, to create the jobs that our people need, to develop the skills and the talents that the future demands, and to build a stable, safe, as well as thriving communities. We do so encouraged by the achievements of the first 25 years of democracy, but we also do so inspired by the struggles that our people have waged over generations. 11 days from now, on the 8th of May, millions of South Africans will again exercise their hard-won right to vote for the government of their choice. Like those who went to the polls for the first time in 1994, those who will go to the polls on the 8th of May will hold in their hands the destiny of our nation. They will hold in their hands the destiny of our country for the next 5 years. They will assert, as free men and women, the fundamental principle that no government can justly claim authority unless it is based on the will of all the people. They will, as they go to vote, assert that as citizens, we all have a responsibility to take an active interest and play a role in the betterment of ourselves and our communities, whether it is as active parents in our school governing bodies, in community policing forums, in campaigns against social ills such as substance abuse and gender-based violence, or in keeping our streets, our towns, and our cities clean. It is up to each one of us to play our part in making South Africa a better place. It is on this day, as we celebrate these 25 years of our freedom, that we should dedicate ourselves to being the South African citizens that are determined to make South Africa a better place. As better brothers, as better sisters, as husbands, as wives, as children, as classmates and co-workers, as neighbors, and as citizens. On this Freedom Day, let us therefore resolve that we will work to address our challenges together. Yes, we have many challenges. We have the challenge of unemployment. We have the challenge of ensuring that we have educational outcomes that are a lot better. We have the challenge of ridding our country of crime and corruption. We have the challenge of ensuring that we rid our country of gender-based violence. And all these challenges are challenges that we are able and capable of addressing. We can do this bound by a common cause. We fought apartheid together, and we triumphed. Many around the world thought the challenge of apartheid was an intractable problem without a solution. We were able to demonstrate to the whole world, to the various peoples of the world in many countries, that we as South Africans had the ability, the courage, and the strength and commitment to resolve a problem that the world had thought was not solvable. We solved it and we triumphed over apartheid as well as colonialism. Together, we can overcome the challenges of the present. I cannot think of a better day than today, the 27th of April, when all of us are celebrating our country's birthday, that we can utilize this day to fully commit ourselves to resolve the challenges that we face. Regardless of race, creed, disability, sexual orientation, religion, social standing, we share as a source of pride the name to be called South African. It belongs to each one of us and every one of us, and it is a name that we should all wear with enormous pride. For it was on this day 25 years ago that each one of us was clothed with the name South African, because before then it was not a name that each one of us could easily have had. On the 27th, we earned that name, and we should wear it with pride. United by our love for freedom and our commitment to see our great nation thrive and prosper, let us move forward together towards achieving a stronger, a greater, a more compassionate, a more united, a more non-racial, a more non-sexist, and a harmonious South Africa. This is the South Africa that we have inherited from those who fought gallant battles, including here on this soil where we are celebrating our Freedom Day. For 200 years ago, on this very soil, a mighty battle was fought to gain our freedom. And we have won our freedom, and thanks to those who fought, yes, 200 years ago in this very spot. And today we are here to thank them, to applaud them, to uphold them, and to say thank you, thank you, thank you for the freedom that we have achieved. Yabulela. Forward with our freedom, forward. Forward with our freedom, forward. Amandla. Yabulela.
Masiphinde siphakame sonke simqhwabele kakuhle umongameli. Thank you very much. Le moto i-red polo CTR 442EC ivale indlela. Fonela u-073 4771133. The red polo is blocking the road. Sizakunikezela ke ngoku kule choir ingenayo. Just before nicule sizawucela usodolophu enze a vote of thanks. Just before you sing, you render those items. Over to you, dear.
Definitely drawing to the end of today's celebrations, Loretta. I think some of the things that stood out for me is the president calling out for all South Africans to actually unite, even for those that are here in South Africa looking for refuge, and paying tribute to previous leaders whom have played a huge role in terms of the freedom that we celebrate or enjoy in this day and age, and as well as, reiterating that as a presidency they understand that people aren't necessarily able to rejoice in freedom if they are still faced by issues of corruption and a lack of service delivery. How about you, Larry? What are some of the things that you think stood out for you for today?
I think what stood out for me the fact that he zoomed into Makhanda, saying that it's not fair that 25 years after democracy, there are people who go for days without water. Also saying that linked to Makhanda as well, it's not fair that money that is set aside for poor people doesn't go to them. So again, speaking into poor governance, speaking to maladministration, also quoting Nelson Mandela, saying that Nelson Mandela once said that we've crossed this hill, but there are still more hills to cross, saying that we can't be equal if there's rich and poor. We can't be equal with those that land and those that don't land. We can't be free, and we can't say that we're a free country if there is still so much division and so many inequalities in our society. I think those two things standing out for me definitely.
Well, I think from the team out here, led by Tabo as well, and the whole crew from the SABC bringing you this broadcast, it's definitely a wrap from our side.
Thank you so much for that brilliant coverage of the morning events on Freedom Day here in South Africa. And we'd like to know from the rest of you watching how you are celebrating your Freedom Day. But for now,
why are we here today? Where are we going to? And how are we going to foot this road? So Sarah Bartman District Municipality with its 7 local municipalities, definitely with all other district municipalities that are here, civile data, civile. And how we take what we have said forward, it is our duty to say that we are to lobby, we are to see that our provincial government, our national government, all that we have said, we take this together. Because without the other spheres of government, we are nowhere. Without the people that are here, we are nowhere. Because they must guide us, they must correct us where we go wrong. And then we must put together and say, from today, this date will remain a remembrance, so that those that are still struggling, we come closer to their lives. Honorable President, we talk today whilst other people in other provinces are today saying, we received the rain, but it has left us with pain. So we are to come closer also to those people. We are grateful, Honorable President, Premier, and everybody who is here, as people of Makhanda and people of Makhanda, with what has happened today. Sisikhumbuzo esingasoze silityalwe. Honorable Premier, as we are to end this day, I hope I'm correct, Tony, when I'm to say the President must be invited. June, Honorable President, sizawube sidibene apha eMakhanda, apha eMakhanda, where you will have more than 40 countries visiting this place, because historically the Arts Festival is here. I've passed the message that the President must be present. Honorable Premier, really, as we say that, this has been a day for us. I want to conclude by saying the President and all the guests who were here, those that made this day to be so important to all of us, we thank you. As you are going back, please drive safe. The roads are busy. As we are going back, let us go and assist those who have been faced with challenges because of the weather conditions. Galomazwi sinibulela nonke sisithi ingapheleli president uphinde ubuye. After the 8th, we will have no other president. We will have only Matamela Cyril Ramaphosa. Amandla.
Thank you very much, Executive Mayor of Sarah Baartman, Councillor Kekana. President, that is the mass choir. Yalapa Makhanda. Bazakubonisa izinto abadume ngazo. They have listened and adhering to your call. We are a non-racial community, and we are trying to demonstrate that, Honorable President. President. Abaqualify number 2. Ayayicela invitation xa ubekwa njengomongameli, mongameli. Siyavuma na? Yebo. Umzali walo mntana bethunani, umntana olahlekelwe ngumzali am. Boy, now everything ngaphambili.
Halala, halala, Eastern Cape, halala. Halala, Makhanda, halala. Halala, Mzansi Africa, halala. Halala, ikwaya yetu, halala. May we all give the President the moment to leave us. Could we please all stand as we allow him to take leave from the podium. Mr. President.
DJ Pastor, Mariki Bodma, DJ Pastor, Chikla nanga pemfa kwam, Uspogas, abe ready. Xa isihla le choir. Siyabulela, you have very good audience. Siyabulela.